This video is sponsored by thingpenguin.com. Recording is in progress. Dave Ridley here from ridleyreport.com. I'm with Bonnie Freeman. She's in Keene, New Hampshire, the wife of Ian Freeman, New Hampshire's probably best known political prisoner.
Yep, that's probably true.
So the reason I thought it might be useful to talk to you this week was because you guys have recently launched a thing. It's freeiannow.org. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. It's a website that just makes it a lot easier for people to go to one place and learn everything about Ian's case and the real nature of it. Because previously, if you had just Googled Ian Freeman, crime or something like that, only the government's words would be the first things that you'd pull up, and it looks like a whole lot worse when you're reading it from their side, because they like to say things that are definitely like a stretch. Like, they're able to call him a fraudster legally, and I wanted to sue them at first or something, but I found out they're able to legally call him a fraudster even though the money laundering charge was thrown out, all because he was convicted of conspiracy to money launder. But even though the money laundering charge itself was thrown out, they're still allowed to call him a fraudster. He wasn't convicted of wire fraud or any type of fraud, but I guess thought crimes, even if I believed that Ian was guilty of that, which I don't. I don't think he's guilty of any of the charges that he's been charged with and then convicted. But even if I believed that he was guilty of that, I um sorry, I forgot what I was going to say about that. So even if I believed he's guilty about it, oh yeah, it's a thought crime. It's somebody had the idea to try to do something. You see what I mean by how I don't even think conspiracy should be a type of um, charge.
Yeah, it's the not the only thought crime in the USSA. I want to go back a little bit just for viewers who don't, or for listeners who don't know the background here. This is a Bitcoin related case, so that's one of the things that makes it so interesting for people, and it makes it a political, so it makes it more political than it would be otherwise, perhaps. But Ian is also I guess, New Hampshire's top talk show host with an audience of, a couple, 100 or 200,000 people a night before he was taken off the scene. But that's he's also a libertarian activist. So just for those who don't know the background, he also was involved in the Free State Project, was this thing to migrate, is this movement to try and migrate 20,000 libertarians to New Hampshire, which is now, what do we have now, 5,000 that have moved here?
That sounds about right,
So
but I
it's,
don't know.
yeah. So all these things put together make this a more interesting case, at least for me, than most federal cases.
Yeah, Ian was he was given an award, him and Mark, for being some of the top recruiters into the state for the Free State Project, bringing people into New Hampshire because they were interested in living around like-minded people, and they got to listen to him on the radio every night talking about how, well, guys, the government is evil. If you didn't already know that, and you're on Dave Ridley's podcast listening, well, the government is just a band of people who believe that they have extra rights that you don't have, and they can, harm you with impunity. And Ian would be talking about that on the radio. People really liked hearing him talk about it. And all the time, somebody new will tell me about how Ian helps him in some way or another, whether through Free Talk Live or through Free Keen, his YouTube videos. Somebody will tell me a new way that Ian helped them come to the ideas of liberty. Like just today, somebody told me that something that really made them first start thinking about all this was when Ian was in some Free Keen video on trial, and he tried to call to the stand the city of Keene because he asked who was the victim in this case, and they had said it was the city of Keene. So just makes, that's court activism is so great because it's just like pulling up the veil of what's really going on.
Yeah. Well, with so this is no we're recording this on November 6th, so it looks like Trump won the election. So are you guys aiming more for a pardon for Ian or for some kind of judicial change?
Just kind of for whatever works because we're still absolutely in the process of the appeals. But recently, Angela McArdle of the Libertarian Party has asked us to send her over anything we have, which I have like just a letter asking for the president to what do they call it when the president pardon someone? So asking the president, you send a letter asking for the president to pardon you. Angela McArdle has sat down with Trump in the last like 2 weeks. So I really think that we can start to get the ball moving um, on that front there, and also on freeiannow.org. There is a petition that you can sign, and it would really help us out if you did. Um, she's going to share that with Trump in some way.
Okay, that sounds like a step forward.
Yeah,
What is the
I don't think it
Ian?
would have.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say I don't think it would have worked out if Kamala became president. I don't think that she would care at all about this case or want to hear from the Libertarian Party chair. So there's that.
Right. Trump has been getting closer to the Libertarian Party. At least he was pandering to it before the election. We'll see if he remembers
Yep.
he did that. But
Yeah.
we'll have to hold his feet to the fire a little bit. I mean, it's gonna be
Yes.
hard enough just to get Ross pardoned after he promised to pardon Ross. Uh, Hopefully we can get both Ross and Ian. Ian's going to be more difficult if he's lower profile.
I think the main thing we have to worry about is hoping that Donald Trump survives the next 70 something days till he gets to day one,
Well,
because
that's
that's when he said,
true. Yeah, I was just thinking about that today. It would be the most
oh,
likely assassination point would be but somewhere between now and the middle of January or end of January because
that'd be
they're gonna
horrible.
they're gonna fight him harder to assassinate once he's president. We'll see if they do it or don't do it. I hope he has his own security because he sure can't rely on the SS.
Yeah, I know. Apparently he still does, and I think that's so weird.
Okay, well, better him than me.
But he did fire, or somebody fired the head of the what do they call it? The Secret Service?
I call it,
Um
well, you know what I call it.
the SS. Shoot stuff full, is that how to say that? Yeah, I think that the FBI is more like the shoot stuffle. So
Oh,
I
the
say,
like the Gestapo? What's the sh
yeah, I thought that's what SS stood for. Maybe that is Gestapo.
I forget
But
the I don't speak a lot of German. I forget what that stands for in German. You may be right. Uh,
um,
go ahead.
but I that she got fired, the one that was in charge whenever Trump actually got hit, like when he got shot in the ear. For a few days, she was saying that she wasn't going to step down, and then she did. So I don't know, maybe he's safer, but it does. How sad would it be for Ross Ulbricht if, like, the guy who said he would free him on day one gets elected and then he gets killed before he gets there? I don't want to even put that out into the universe or anything. I shouldn't keep worrying about it because worrying doesn't help. That's what Ian always says.
Well, and he has the right to say that more than most of us. Speaking of Ian, uh, he was raided in 2021, and then they had him in jail for a period of months, and then he got out on sort of like home confinement, and then when he went to jail after when they convicted him, he immediately appealed, but they put him in federal prison pending the appeal. So right now he's been in prison on this stint for about a year and a month. Is that correct?
Yes. He went into prison sorry, October 2nd, 2023. So about a year, I mean, yeah, a year and a little over a month, and also including the other stint, which was right when they raided our house and they took him with them. He was in jail, like county jail, for 69 days then. So all of that added together goes towards his 8 year sentence. Yeah.
Did he get any credit at all for his home confinement?
No, you don't get credit for your life being completely put on pause and you being punished before being convicted of any crime for over a year,
And
close to 2 years.
and restricted from exercising, correct?
Restricted from lots of things. Like, I guess a lot of the times he could go on walks with me, but once it was like, there was a time when he was not allowed to leave the house at all, and then he had to, yeah, ask for permission. They finally got his little ankle monitor taken off. A lot of that is like such a blur to me because there was always these short, small little changes here and there that he could like claw back a little more freedom. He had um he had a time he had to go to be inside at night, you know, a curfew. At some point, he was even taking a picture of himself inside the house every time this alarm went off on his phone randomly. So the government had him install something on his phone where anytime the alarm went off, which he was able to set the alarm and he made it air raid sirens. So anytime we would hear the air raid sirens, Ian would have to stop whatever he's doing and take a picture of his face. And they would use like geolocation on the picture to know that he was in the house. And it would happen like 3 times randomly throughout the day. Yeah, but you don't get any kind of credit for that. You don't get, like, it doesn't count towards your 8 year sentence. You have to do all that just because someone convicted or just because someone accused you of a crime. If it's the FBI, oh, he is such a big deal, he could run away. We have no kind of actual evidence of that or any real reason to believe that. But either way, to make everyone safe from this man who sold Bitcoin, we need to put him on house arrest basically for almost 2 years. But nope, he doesn't get any kind of credit for that.
Now, what would you say is the most egregious thing that has happened to him behind bars?
Um, well, one thing that just really pissed me off, I don't even know if this even bothers Ian as much as it bothered me, whenever he was first being brought into the prison, because for whatever reason, they left him in a county jail for 6 months after he um, got convicted. He was supposed to go to prison within a couple weeks, and we didn't get any updates on what was going on. We just waited, and he just was in the county jail in Boscawen, New Hampshire for 6 months and a few days. And then he got sent to a prison. So like that's egregious enough. Like it's like not knowing where you're gonna live tomorrow every day for 6 months is egregious. And also the thing is like you have fewer freedoms in the county jail, and in a lot of ways he really prefers where he is now to when he was in the county jail. But they wanted to separate him and Aria, is my theory, because when they finally sent him to prison, they sent him to the medium security, which everyone was really shocked by because he's a non-violent offender with no violent past. And basically, what had happened was he was in this prison for maybe 2 months, or three, maybe. The medium security, and then they found out, oh, we didn't realize that you did graduate high school. That gives you a better score with us. So therefore, now that you have this better score, you're eligible to go to the camp, which is much better. Like walk outside whenever you want. Um, Visits are a whole lot better. Oh my God. Even just from me, the visitor's side, it was like so awful to go in there, wait around, be at the mercy of these weirdos, and have to be led through like these doors that lock behind you, like move open and move shut. And now the visiting process is like I just show up to the camp building. I can even see Ian while I'm in the waiting room, and I just fill out a piece of paper. I get a wand over me sometimes, and then we just go outside and sit at a picnic table and hang out and play dominoes or whatever for like 4 hours. But the thing I was gonna say that was egregious was like when he was first in that prison, he had to get like x-rayed and all this crap over and over again. And there's like some woman who's part of the prison, like working there, and he kept getting like, I guess she was like wanding him, like using a metal detector on him, and he it kept like beeping at his head, which like in my experience these wands mean nothing. Like even my little brother who's 11 years old, when he went to go visit Ian with me, he said like every time we go there and we get wanted, it does something different. Like it beeps all over us, or it doesn't beep at all, or only beeps once, but the guards don't act like they notice it. And one time my 11-year-old brother said, do these guards even know how these wands work? Because it's like it's acting as if it's finding metal all over us, and they just don't. It's like they're doing it for show. But anyways, at one point in the prison, Ian was getting metal detected, and it kept going off near his head. And the lady that worked there was like, do you have any like screws in your head or anything? And he was like, no, nothing, no metal, just a brain. And she said, you obviously don't have a brain if you're in here.
Yeah, I mean it's bad enough that they have to take your freedom, but they also try to humiliate you too sometimes.
Yeah, it's awful. They're just like horrible people. Like every single one I've run into is basically like a really awful person or just like a total idiot.
Well, I've only done 11 days so far myself.
Oh, that was in Massachusetts too, right?
I got sentenced for handing out flyers, at a federal office. But the
Were you in a Massachusetts prison too?
the Fed sent me to Mass,
Was it the same one as Ian?
Essex.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, so the Fed sent me to a county jail, which was Essex.
Hmm.
Yeah, but yeah, that was one thing I noticed. There was, they're actually there. It was a mixed bag, right? There were some who were fairly nice, and there were others who weren't that nice, but they were at least entertaining to interact with, and they would come talk to me and so forth, and they would make my day go faster.
Hmm.
There was one, for instance, who just laughed at me when I think I asked for a phone call or something.
Wow.
And there was another one that this was an important lesson. I had refused to give them information about myself, and I think I let one piece of information slip. So she took that as backing down. And I heard you backed down. Oh, you're a backer downer. So I thought,
Wow.
oh, okay, so that's the mistake I never make again. I'm learning as I go.
Oh, wow. That's just so stupid. I mean, these people are just like, they treat the prisoners like the prisoners are like some kind of zoo animal, and they're like so much higher up than them and better than them. That's what I've like, that's definitely the vibe I've gotten of even the ones that seem more quote unquote nice.
It's a bad bunch, yeah. The Okay, but anyway, I kind of interrupted the real subject here, which was supposed to be what happened, what has been happening to Ian. So what else did you notice that bothered you or him?
So there was that thing that bothered me. Um, I feel like for the most part, like if I guess people should know that for the most part, I'm really happy that Ian hasn't been just being like absolutely like tortured or anything like that. Um, right now, this is probably the worst thing actually that's happening right now is that Ian and the whole camp is currently on some kind of lockdown, and I have no clue why because they don't know why. And even the guard who called to tell me, which was a nice thing, and I'll admit that he called to tell me because Ian missed the announcement that they were going to be locked down, so they needed to let their loved ones know so that way loved ones or whatever didn't show up to um visits. Well, Ian missed that, and I just assumed Ian was napping because he's always napping there. Um, and so everybody else got to call their loved ones to tell them, "Hey, don't come to the visit because you'll get turned away." But Ian missed it, so the guard called me the next day and told me, and he said he even like he's not just a guard. Like I don't know if he's a warden or what. They have like different names at the camp. He's like the top guard basically at the camp. He called me and let me know not to come, and I was like, well, when will this be over? Like because right now they're not allowed to call, email, have visits, and it seems like maybe even they aren't allowed to have letters because I haven't gotten a letter. Um, and I know Ian would have like immediately wrote me a letter if he wasn't able to talk to me any other way. So this is probably the worst thing. Like it's really weird. They don't get told, oh, this is why this is happening. My only guess is that there's this woman who was a guard. They have other names for them. I just don't remember, and I don't care. Um, there's a guard at a prison that just happens to be literally across the highway from Ian. I didn't even know this prison was there until I found this news story, but basically Ian's at one exit of the highway, and the exit I would take before would take me to Shirley, New Hampshire, and it's only like a minute away from where Ian actually is in Devons. There's another prison there across the highway, and this guard, she was caught on video. I guess like the higher ups were watching her because maybe they suspected something was going on. She was caught on video handing something to a prisoner, and then that prisoner walked into another room, and the guard who was watching, I guess, goes and checks at where like checks his pockets and found drugs in his pockets. So it was evident that she handed him like a little thing of drugs. It was like this sheet of paper with synthetic marijuana. Somehow I've never even heard of that being a thing, but um so she was bringing drugs into the prison. So she just started getting um like her court date started in the last few days. So I don't know, but I'm guessing that it has something to do with that. Could be the reason why Ian's completely locked down. Everybody's locked down. Just seems that's my only guess. Honestly, I really don't know why else it would be that they're not allowed to talk to us right now. But it is one of the worst things that's happened since Ian's been in jail because I mean, it's bad enough to just not have your freedom, like not be allowed to wake up and make whatever breakfast you want, not be allowed to like walk your dog or do whatever you just choose to do that day, not be allowed to do the work you want to do. Like Ian wants to be doing, his radio show and all kinds of other activism that he is usually doing. But then to just not even be able to have conversations with your loved ones or even just see me is like that's definitely the worst thing that's happened so far. And it's been a whole week today.
Have you ever heard of Vladimir Bukovsky, the Soviet dissident?
Is he the one that told us how they were gonna do everything? He like told America like he's a whistleblower.
I don't know about that. He was in prison mostly in the 60s and 70s, I think, and then they let him out and he lived most of the rest of his life in England.
Oh, well, I don't think so. What about him?
Well, there was an article by Gary North about him that explained how he operated in the jail and prisons that he was in, and his philosophy and just the approach that he would take and the infrastructure that he kind of set up in there. And
Mhm.
there's nothing else about that on the internet. It's just the Gary North article claiming that Bukovsky he went into detail about Bukovsky's time in jail, which no one else has done, it seems like. And so for me, it just seems it's important to it's so often when activists get thrown in jail, it just turns into a black hole and no one has any idea what's going on in there. No one even seems to talk about it. So I just that's why I thought it was important to ask you about it. You just get a little bit of a physical description of what he's going through and what the process looks like.
Well, one thing I can say is no one has been like rude or mean to him. So I don't know if anybody like worries about that. Maybe like only like women think like this, but I was just afraid he would get in there and he's like the only smart one and they just think he's a nerd or something and they're mean to him or something like that. But like I forget that like Ian legitimately is just so cool. He's so good at being just like cool and likable. Everyone likes him. And I've even asked him on the most like I like, just whispering while at a visit with no one else around, like it's like, Ian, is anybody here mean to you or anything like that? And he said, no, no, like everybody here is basically cool because they're all the lowest level offenders and they want to be in the camp, because they don't want to be um sent to like a higher security. You see what I'm saying? So they're not trying to get in trouble and um like get in any kind of like fight or anything like that would get them kicked out of the camp. So basically, people who don't like each other just stay away from each other, and everyone seems to like Ian. So I don't know if that makes anybody feel better.
Is there any, and you're talking about the inmates, not the guards?
Oh yeah, I'm talking about the inmates because I was
Oh,
kind of
okay.
just worried about that because the fact is Ian is not a criminal. Ian is not a person who's done anything actually wrong. And I'm not saying that the other um inmates necessarily did do anything wrong just because they're in jail, but some of them are like thieves and stuff like that. But I would say most of them are just people who are in jail for drugs, and one person is in there for something cryptocurrency related as well, but it's a bit different than Ian's. It's like maybe what he was doing was money laundering and Bitcoin was a component in it. I still don't think it's like necessarily a serious crime or that he seemed like a really good person. I've actually like, interacted with him the tiniest bit during visits and his wife is nice to me. Um, so yeah, most of these people aren't like serious about, but I was a lot more worried about this when he was in the medium security. There was like chomos, child molesters, just like people who did seriously wrong things. There was murderers even when he was in the medium security.
Yeah.
But everybody is nice to him, and he honestly has like some amount of fun while he's in there. And he walks a lot, and he does yoga, and he's actually taught like big, scary looking prisoners how to do yoga too. They've like come up and been like, "Hey man, I see you doing this, and I've always wanted to learn. Can you teach me a few things?" So he's taught them yoga. It's
Yeah.
funny.
Well, Roger Ver, one of the advertisers on Ian's show, learned to speak Japanese pretty well when he was in jail.
Oh
And
wow.
speaking of which, he claims he was tortured when he was put in jail, I think by the feds over fireworks.
Tortured how?
I've never read the specifics. Again, this is one of the big problems with these arrests is that they don't make a bigger deal about what's going on inside the jails and document it thoroughly.
I know. Just the other day, whenever I posted about um not being able to talk to Ian for a week, and by the way, like this is the first time in my whole entire life that I've ever gone more than like maybe because of Ian being moved from county jail to prison, I think I didn't get to talk to him for like maybe 48 hours once, but I've never since I've met Ian gone a whole week without talking to him. And somebody was on like a nice person on Twitter said there really should be some kind of like minimum standards that they have to have when they have people in custody. It's like they barely if they have minimum standards, they're barely there at all. It's like they just basically are torturing people.
Do you know what a mind file is?
I don't know. Is it just a file they have on what will break you or something?
Not exactly. It's more like you can just make a copy of all your own emails and copy of all your own, I don't know, everything you've written. If you want to, people can do that. And then you collect it all in one place. And although the technology is not very good yet, you can turn that into a crude approximation of yourself. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And
Oh,
so like the easiest place to do that right now is probably poe.com. It's poe.com. Uh, so you have the option. I mean, if things get bad enough, you could take Ian's writings and put them there and you can create an agent there of sorts. It can't do much yet except talk to you. It's not going to help you much, but uh my theory is that a person could make like a copy of themselves that represents them while they're in jail. It can represent them on the outside to some extent.
whoa, that's pretty crazy. The other thing is Ian has definitely enough of his voice out there where it could have his voice too.
Right. Well, you probably only need a minute of voice to do, for the
Mm-hmm.
I don't know much about the voice yet. But with Poe.com, what happens is you pick your own GPT. You can pick from a lot of different GPTs, but the voice integration is not very good from what I understand. I made like a very super crude copy of myself that just has like I just sent it one book that I wrote or part of a book that I wrote. And so it knows all about me from what's in that book, but not much else. And so I haven't really done much else with it because really the technology is not ready yet.
That's pretty cool though. It's interesting.
Yeah, it answered my questions about myself accurately.
Wow, that's pretty cool. I have not heard of this. No, I when you said a mind file, my mind just went immediately to like the government keeping a file on us, and I don't know, like the way that they would assess how we are to like harm us more. That's what I think of them. Mm-mm.
By the way, this software gives me a 40-minute limit, so the podcast will end at 6 minutes, whether we want it to or not. So make sure that any important points you want to make get out in the next 6 minutes.
So freeian.org and the petition is on that website. At the very top of the page, it'll say sign the petition here, and you can find it right there. That's very helpful because that's one of the components of things that Angela McArdle said that she wants us to give her, like, so that way she can try to bring this case to Trump. Um, who knows, like, if he'll even, I mean, like, I am hopeful that he'll be interested in the case, as in, like, think that it would be politically expedient for him to talk about freeing Ian in order to gain, people's support. But the other thing is, like, he's not running again. And I just think we just need to, in general, hold his feet to the fire. Um, Make sure he keeps the promises that he did make. Like, he's supposedly saying that he is going to have Ron Paul in some part helping out with his cabinet. I don't know if that if cabinet is the right word for that, but if Ron Paul's if he said that he wants to have Ron Paul involved, then we need to hold his feet to the fire on that, and all those things in order to make it more likely that he's like going to want to listen to us and free Ian. So if you go to freeian.org, one huge thing is you can read Jacob Hornberger's article from the Future of Freedom Foundation. Um, and he wrote, if you just don't know about Ian's case, he wrote the most amazing article that anyone has written, even like his own like family members and himself. Like no one has written a more all-encompassing, here is what the Ian Freeman cryptocurrency case is all about article until Jacob Hornberger did. He bought the transcripts in order to write the article, and he clearly knows how to read those transcripts because I thought he was like, when I first read it, I thought, wow, was he in the room during the court and I just didn't see him or something? No, he just learned all that from reading the transcripts. He's really, really a pro, and he like immediately caught on to like what was going on here, like what's really going on here, because when it was just in the news and he heard Ian is a fraudster, he thought, oh well, fraud is not libertarian, so I guess that's that. And then Jim Babb actually told him at Porkfest, hey man, all of that is like BS. It's all just like made up crap. So that's what interested Jacob Hornberger to read the transcripts and then write his article, which you can find at freeian.org. And so like it's not like he just was told by other people. He read what actually happened and he was like, wow, this is what's going on here. And it sounds like something like me and Mark would be saying on the air, if you know what I mean. Like people who really care about him and know everything about this case. Um, that's what Jacob Hornberger's article reads like.
What is the status of, do you get a sense of the status of First Amendment rights for you, at least when you're visiting him in the prison? Are you allowed to film anything, or at what point
No,
do they start trying to stop you from filming?
I can't have anything electronic at all. As soon as I go in there, I fill out a piece of paper, and one of the things it asks, "Do you have any like things on you, like drugs, blah blah blah?" And like one of those is cell phones, anything electronic, basically, even like little smoking pens, obviously. Like anything electronic at all. That's why they do the wand on us. They just you don't have any First Amendment rights. It's basically like federal court as well.
Are you allowed to film the process of being denied your camera?
I just don't want to do that. I don't want to get
Okay.
not like so, if somebody else wanted to, I wouldn't care. I don't think that would affect me or affect Ian, but I don't want to get my ability to visit Ian denied.
Yeah, yeah. It might be something for someone else to do. Okay. All right. Well, what else? What other thoughts do you have in the last 2 minutes?
Hmm. Whenever I go visit Ian, we always like take a piece of bread and we feed all the birds that are around. That's such a plus compared to like the county jail where he his only view of outside at all was this tiny window with a bar through it in his cell. And when they got outside time in the county jail, it was literally a concrete room. And technically, if you look straight up, you could see a little slice of the sky with a chain link fence covering it. Where he's at now is so much better.
Sounds slightly worse than the Western Front.
It's all just like so much worse in the county jail. I don't know why. Even the other prisoners were scarier in my estimation.
Yeah, they say federal prison is usually the least dangerous.
Yeah. He has like a lot of actual fun in prison. Sounds so bad. It's just like so many people want him to be suffering. Like so many anonymous, stupid troll people on the internet. They are like, I hope your husband's having fun in prison, and it's kind of funny because he like literally kind of it might be like the worst part of it all, and his work. Like he loves working.
I'm glad somebody does. Thanks, Bonnie.
Well, thank you for having me. Thanks so much, Dave.
You can watch Bonnie's show at freetalklive.com.
Thanks.
Do you value your privacy? Want hardware that works? Get Linux at New Hampshire's very own thingpenguin.com.